What's up, everybody? It's Greg Birch with Delta Financial, and this is the Be the Difference podcast. This podcast is all about making you a better person in your life and in your business with coaching on sales, leadership, mindset, marketing, everything under the sun when it comes to being an entrepreneur. And we bring on guest speakers. Today, I'm honored and pleasured to welcome with me Mr. Chris Arzberger. Chris is going to share us a story of victory today. What's going on, Chris? How are you, brother?
Man, it's a great day today. Great day. God has spoken to me in so many ways today. And it's funny you say victory because that is exactly what he's spoken to me about, victory. And I think I look at you in the financial industry, mm-hmm. And we just had I led some men today on the concept of stewardship. Not just financial stewardship, for stewardship in all areas of your life. Yeah. The biggest gift I think God's given me and everybody is that he wakes you up each day and he gives you time. So what are you going to do with that time all throughout the day? Yeah. And that's what I choose to glorify God through how I use my time, and that may be, go working out, right? That may be reading the Bible. That may be praying. That may be going to help someone out. That may be working in my business, but everything is going to be hopefully glorifying God and being a good steward of all the gifts he's given us. A lot of times people immediately, when they think stewardship, they immediately go to money and tithing and things like that. But it's so much bigger when you think about it.
You're absolutely right, Chris. And I this is powerful that you're talking about this. And we're going to start off with a bang. I love this podcast already. To caveat off that point, when every day that you wake up is a gift from God. It is a gift. And too often there's people that throw that gift away, and it is your duty to just exercise that gift to the best of your ability. And that means living the fullest life that you can, impacting as many people as you can, and literally living up to that gift. Because think about it like this. If someone were to give you a gift, or if you were to give somebody a gift, if you were to give a friend of yours a gift, it's Christmas time right now, but by the time this airs, it'll be next year, but 2023. But if someone were to give, or you to give someone a gift, and they took it and they turned around and threw it in the trash right in front of you, how would you feel? Right. How would you feel about that?
Exactly. It's like a spit in your face, like, come on, I just gave you this great gift and you're going to disrespect it,
Exactly. And every single day that you wake up and you don't live to the best of your ability and live a full, meaningful, spiritual life, what you're doing is you're taking that gift and you're throwing in the trash to God every single day.
And what's amazing to me is that as you use your gifts, he gives you more gifts. Yeah. He gives you more responsibility. He's right now testing you. Yeah. I'm giving you this gift. It's all biblical. There's so much stuff about the Bible. He gives you the story of the talents. Different people had talents. They multiplied them. He's right now figuring us out. Can this guy handle this responsibility? Can he handle his time? Can he handle relationships? Can he handle his body? Can he handle mental wellness? Can he do all these things? As you start crushing all that life, and giving glory to God, because he's the only one that's giving me the strength to do it. I can't do it by myself. He's like, all right, now I'm going to give you something bigger. Let's go. And
exactly. And just so you know, God's betting on you.
Yeah.
God's betting on your success.
Yep.
But you can't, if you're not utilizing the gift of life, if you're not utilizing it, he's not going to give you more gifts. You have to learn to live to the fullest extent. You got to push your potential, become the best version of yourself. But in premortal existence, that is our perfect form. That is our perfect form. When we die, we meet who we're supposed to be. Yes. That is our ultimate potential. What are you doing today in order to become that version of yourself, so that when you meet, you're the same person? Yes. And you say, nice to meet you.
Yep. Nice to meet your same person he expected you to be. And he says, well done, good and faithful servant, Exactly. And then when we're in eternity, he's got jobs for us in eternity. People don't realize that when we go to eternity, we are going to be judges of angels. It says that in the Bible. So there is some amazing stuff that I believe that he's qualifying for us right now to see what we're going to do in eternity, because we have a long, long time to look forward to.
Absolutely. This is already a fire podcast. I'm liking your energy, Chris. This is great. So for the audience that's listening, so that you can understand a little bit about Chris, I'm going to talk about his bio. So Chris, obviously, he lives his life through his faith. So the over 30 years of business experience transforming his mind, his body, and spirit to help alleviate all forms of poverty. Chris lives his life through his faith. He's a former Air Force officer and current co-owner of IB Logistics with over 30 years of logistics, supply, transportation, engineering, and information technology experience in military environments in the unit/production and headquarters levels. He has a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering and a Master of Science in Logistics Management. He is, I don't even know, Parillo certified trainer. I'd have never heard of that.
Parillo.
I'm half Puerto Rican, so I see the double R and I got to roll it.
Yeah.
Trainer since 1998. He's co-owner of Airport Fitness and owner of Intuit Fitness. Fitness and living an active lifestyle is a priority no matter what challenges that he faces during his life. He has been successful at bodybuilding, competitive sports, extreme activities, and coaching at adult and youth levels. He's won Armed Forces bodybuilding championships since 1999. He's sponsored by Air Force and bodybuilding from 1999 to 2000 and held fitness classes at the WPAFB, competitive category bike racer for Team Dayton from 2003 to 2011. He won Ride Across Indiana, over 1,000 riders perfect North lead ski instructor from 1999 to 2015. And in addition to teaching young adults and kids, he was responsible for training instructors on how to perform their lessons. Varsity football and track strength and conditioning coach for Springboro from 2015 to 2017, and heli-skiing activities. Spartan and Warrior Dashes are still some of his favorite activities. He has a passion to impact the world by becoming one step closer to Jesus each day, serves on a leadership board, and coach for Thrive Together, an initiative to alleviate all forms of poverty, volunteers at the Victory Project Dayton, coaching young adults, volunteers for Blue Skies for the good guys and gals, working with the Purple Heart and Gold Star families, and started Testimonies of God with 2 other faith-led individuals. That is quite a bio, Chris. I love it.
It's only God. It's only God, and he gives you these opportunities. And what's funny, Greg, is that a lot of these opportunities, I don't even ask for them. People come and ask me, hey, can you do this? And if it matches my vision for myself, which is to be a little bit more like Jesus each day, to transform people's minds, body, and spirit, and to alleviate all forms of poverty, not just financial. If someone comes to me and it fits that right there, I'm like, yeah, I can do that, because I know I'm going to have the passion to execute it and put all 100% of my time and effort into that and help people out. There's been people, in entrepreneur space, are like, hey, Chris, can you help me do this? And I'm like, no, I just can't do it. It just doesn't match up. I just know that it's not aligned with my vision, my mission for myself, and my core values. I just don't.
Got to live by your core values.
Yeah. And in the past, I'm going to be vulnerable here. I was not always like this. I did not really take good stewardship of my life. Go back 10, 15 years ago, where I was just chasing the shiny things, chasing things of the world, and really lusting after things and having idols in my life, and being complacent in my life and things like that. And it was really through a humbling experience of going through a divorce that I really rekindled my faith with Jesus and really awoken me and rekindled that. And that has really helped me just step into what God's doing. I think God doesn't call the qualified. He
qualifies the called.
Yes, he qualifies the call, and I think, the devil actually had me back, before he had me in a complacent zone where I wasn't doing any more kingdom purposes, kingdom eternity type things on a daily basis. He had allowed me to have some success in the military, success in the various companies and stuff like that. But it was really about chasing shiny things,
No, dude, I love that you're being vulnerable like that, especially at the beginning of the podcast. And I had a similar experience with me. I'm also divorced. Got divorced in 2015, and it took me a little bit longer to realize, because I got out of the divorce with a lot of insecurities, issues, abandonment issues, codependency, stuff like that, where I just kind of chased the same thing, chase the shiny object, chase women, to fill that void within me, I felt. And it took an experience where I started going back to church. I've gotten away from it. Started going back to church. I started tithing. I started to do all these things. And I was sitting in church one day, and I started to pray. I was actually taking sacrament and I started to pray. And usually during sacrament, I would say a little prayer to myself quietly, and I would kind of just do a little repenting for the last week. Things I might have done that I
Yeah.
could have done better. That didn't live up to my potential. I did this, I shouldn't have done that, kind of thing. And I had this just this overwhelming feeling that I had way more to repent for. And I just started to go back through my life, and I dug deep. I dug down to like the when I first got married, back in like 2005. And this is in 2021. And I dug back to almost like 20 years just about. And I started realizing, I was like, the reason I'm at where I'm at is because of the actions I have taken, not because of the actions of somebody else. They didn't cause that to happen. I am the author of my story, and I have not been in alignment. My actions have not been in alignment with what God expects of me and the person that I am meant to be. And it was a very this eye-opening experience, very powerful. And it was very cathartic for me, because then I could start to like take good action, because I like let go of all this baggage with that acknowledgement that like, okay, I'm repenting for this. I'm forgiving myself, and I'm moving forward. And so I've been in a very similar situation as you, Chris. I know what
And
you're
we're gonna
talking
go. We're gonna go a little bit deeper here, because I know that when I got divorced, there was that period after divorce where, you know, I was walking with Jesus and he was showing me things, and it brought me back into my past, and it got me to uncover things that I had buried, psychologically buried. I had uncovered that I totally forgot that I was molested when I was a child, molested by someone in our family, another male, an older male, but I had buried that. But until I started doing the work in a lot of men's Bible studies and stuff like that, they call this book called The Heart of the Warrior, where it really digs deep into the wounds of the father and the wounds of your family. And that came up. And then loads of other sexual bondage things came up that were basically keeping me down in my life and caused me to live an impure sexual life, which caused tons of hurt in my life, to me, not just to me, but to also not just women, but men in my life too. And then getting married, and just everything was just not the way God wanted it to be. And it had me deal with all that stuff and forgive all that stuff. And now where I'm at, it's crazy, right? Because now I'm teaching men to break sexual bondage. I was in sexual bondage, and now I'm teaching men to break it.
And that right there goes back. It lends back to the statement you said, where God doesn't qualify the called, or doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. And what it is that you are helping people through the same exact situation that you are going through, that you went through. So you have the experience to help and to serve fellow man to get through that same exact situation. So anytime that you're having a difficult struggle, that you feel like I'm all alone, there's more people on the planet. You are not alone. There's a lot of people that are going through it, but find the strength within you, and lean on those that you can. Go to Bible study, go to church, lean on Christ in order to get through that. And then you be the power within somebody else's life to help them do the same thing.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you're so right. And to deal with that, you have to deal with a lot of shame and get a lot of that stuff. And I
A lot of
wasn't
guilt.
really comfortable talking to you like this,
Yeah.
talking about my past, being molested, sexual bondage, all this stuff. It's been a story when Jesus builds me up in his identity, and just realize, hey, everything that happened for you happened for a reason. And now I'm using you. What Satan meant for evil, I'm turning for good, and it's just very humbling. I really get emotional about where he has me. And because a lot of times, before I'm not worthy of this, I'm shamed, doubt, look at all this stuff that happened in my past. And now I'm just like, all right, thank you, God. It's amazing the victory that God is giving me,
This is amazing conversation. I love this. Thank you so much for sharing that, and being very transparent and vulnerable on here. I know that a lot of people can take a lot away from that, and identify with the challenge and struggle that you have faced and how you've overcome it. It's very inspirational, right?
Yeah, thanks.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. So, let's talk about what led you to entrepreneurship, and how was that transition for you going through all of this?
Well, it's funny. I always believed, even when I was in the military, I thought my military career was like an entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
I was blessed to have really good leaders above me.
Yeah.
And I always communicated with them in such a fact, hey, let me run my division and stuff like that. And I'll put in the work, but just give me that flexibility to do that stuff. And all my leaders were so open to that. So I remember talking to my leaders, hey, I'll work in many hours you want, but I need to get to the gym at certain times. I want to get to the gym or I want to do these things. And they're like, yep, I empower you to do all that stuff. So I think the military, and at least the leaders I was exposed to, allowed me to experience sort of like managing your own people. And I usually, I was an officer in charge. So I had like maybe 50 people sometimes in charge that I was operating and mentoring and all that stuff. So it's very much similar to like running a company, and you're mentoring them and trying to provide leadership and all that kind of stuff. So the military gave me a real good start of that.
Yeah.
And then transitioning to open up a supply chain company, I just saw so many things when I was in the military, so many problems in the supply chain that I could identify and provide solutions if I got out of the military. So I got out of the military because I knew I could do a better job and avoid all the bureaucracy that typically the military has. And that's what really was the genesis of that. And now where I'm at is we have this company that's been around since 1999, the IB Logistics Company. We have systems in place, core values in place, are all people we hire. So we don't have any middle managers. It just the company runs really efficiently for itself. And so I don't have to be in the business. I can be more about the business and really align our company with other faith-based companies. And that was a big transition for me. Not seeking assignment, but seeking alignment first and then seeking assignment. And we got burnt before by doing the opposite. We aligned with companies just for assignment purposes, so we really didn't look at their core values, didn't really know how they operated. And that caused a lot of bad actions, I'll say, not on our side, but people trying to win a contract with us and kick us out, and try to figure out how they do our work and all that kind of stuff. So that's the last 5 or 6 years. I'm like, all right, I'm only going to work with companies that align with the core values, and faith being the number one thing for me, So I've been able to find some amazing faith-based companies in the DoD space. And it's really cool that we actually use prayer when we're doing proposals and we're working together and stuff. And there's fellow people in our Arte group that are in that DoD supply chain, and we use our faith to help us out. So it's cool.
That's amazing. I love that you're talking about alignment with core values and beliefs, right? So there's so many companies that I've talked to that don't actually have they don't have core values. Like they haven't created a culture. And that's how you create your cultures, through your core values. Core values is you. What do you believe in? How are you going to interact with people? How are you going to interact with your employees? How are you going to interact with contractors? How are you going to interact with your clients? How do you expect them to interact with you? Because you should also find the right clients that believe in the same things. Because if you have a client that's against those core values and maybe disrespects your employees as a business owner, you gotta cut that off. Like, no, you're not going to talk to my employees that way.
Yeah.
One
of the main core values that we run our company by is that we want to empower our employees to the point where they believe they are running their own business. So we also have to have clients that allow us to do that, because then that won't happen, right? So our employees, they literally believe they're running their own business, like working, because they integrate with the client, but the client has to give us the ability for freedom and make decisions. Yeah. And because we've been working with that client since our major client, which is the Air Force, 99, before I went in and did my own company, they knew me. So when I came on board as a contractor and I started my own business, we had some credibility established. So they were already able to release the micromanagement chain, I'll say, that a lot of bureaucracy has. And therefore, we were able to let our guys go and say, hey, you're running this project. Here's your client. Just go forth. And the client's like, yep, I trust you, make these changes, so it's a very good two-way street, of communication back and forth. And our employees, they love working with us because of that, and we don't, me and my partner, Jeff, we have no middle management. And when people come to work for us, from day one, they have unlimited vacation. We don't track vacation time. We don't track sick time. We don't track any of that stuff. All we do is get the job done with the client, take as much time off as you want.
Yeah.
And the guy's
yeah,
like,
do the work.
you know?
Do the work. And I bet you what you find is you find people that are dedicated to what you're doing and are probably working more than because they enjoy the process. That's what happens when you have a good culture with core values and everyone's in a line. They believe in the same thing and they're marching the same path. They're doing the same things. It's a multiplication factor. It's not like 1 + 1 = 2. When you have people that are in alignment, it's like 1 + 1 = 10 because your efforts are multiplied so much more because you're willing to give your blood, sweat, and tears for what you believe in, your why, your intrinsic purpose.
And I would say, like, we just had a customer update this morning, right? And we let all of our employees talk their projects and everything. You know, I don't do it. I just facilitate it. But it takes some time going back 10, 15 years to teach these tech guys to communicate with them and to be comfortable with that. So it takes some investment on our part to give them that empowerment, to coach them so that they can speak intelligently and speak in a way that a government person who's not a tech person can understand what they're doing. And so there's a lot of that kind of give and take from our standpoint to coach them up so that they can feel really empowered and can handle these meetings. Because I want to put them in the spotlight. I want to put them in front of the general officer or the colonel or whatever, you know? And that just really works.
I love that. I want to back it up a little bit because you talked, I mentioned your bio, then you've also mentioned it during the conversation. I haven't met many people that focus on the physical, mental, spiritual aspect, and really on the physical as well, and being a good steward of your physical body. Hey, and here's the way I see it is that your body's a temple.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Body is a temple. You've got to take care of it.
Yes.
Do you have to be a bodybuilder? No, but you should be exercising.
Yeah.
You should be eating healthy.
I mean, here's what I call it, Greg. We have 5 senses, right? God's given us those 5 senses. We got to take care of those 5 senses, right?
Yep.
So those 5 senses, eyes, right? Probably eating correctly, taking care of your eyes, not watching so much, on the computer, all that kind of stuff. You could probably save examples of all your senses. Then just, God wants us to be his hands and feet. So you have to be sort of in shape to be the hands and feet to go out and do the work that God wants you to be and do impact people's lives and make disciples and all that stuff. So yeah, we are the temple of the Holy Spirit, so we have to really pay attention to how he wants us to be able to move when he wants us to move. Like he's going to tell you, move. I'm going to send you. Greg, I'm sending you here. Are you physically able to go there now when I'm sending you? Or have you been a lazy person that not taking care of their body, Yeah.
And I mean, it's even 2 of the 7 deadly sins are eating things in excess and laziness. And what happens? That's why most people will get out of shape is because they eat too much. Everything's in excess, too much alcohol, too much food that's bad for you. They're not taking care of their body. And then they refuse to work out and they're lazy. They sit down, they watch Netflix all day long, right? They're watching the reruns on Stranger Things, waiting for the next season.
Yeah. And that's why I look at, one of the biggest disciplines for me, spiritual disciplines, is to discipline my flesh. My fleshly self that wants to be lazy, that wants to take the easy way out, that I am going to discipline it with physical activity. I'm going to become master over my fleshly, stupid desires by disciplining it and going through and doing the hard things.
Yeah.
And I'm going to train myself to listen to me versus listen to the weak, I'll call my weaker self.
Yeah, your weaker self. Yeah, that is, make no mistake, that is the devil. That is tempting you with those fleshly desires, right? And by the way, Satan knows all of us intimately.
Yes.
He knew us before the fall. He knew when we were in the hosts of heaven, before we came down, before the fall of Satan, before the fall of Lucifer, and when he took a third of the host to heaven, we all knew each other. He knows us intimately. He knows our weaknesses. He knows us. He knows how to tempt us.
And the good thing about that, though, he knows that. But once again, God created him. So he's not all powerful. He's not all knowing. And he's not all present. So he can't be always here. Now his minions can be here, But so I'm going to say that, don't give Satan too much credit. But yes, he definitely is there tempting us, causing us to think bad thoughts, all these kind of stuff. He knows exactly how we operate. Like I look at my past because I'm changing now and I'm relying on Jesus, some of my past things that he usually using against me doesn't work as well as what they used to. Because I'm changing. I'm changing. Now he's like, oh boy, this guy's different. Now he has to react. So
but a lot of that comes from the mental discipline and the strength that you're getting from doing those hard things.
Yes.
Because now when you do those hard things, it levels up your mind. You get a higher level of consciousness and you're like, you know what? I don't like if other temptations come my way, it's actually easier to turn them off.
Yes.
Because you're doing the hard things that you know that you don't really want to do. But man, I'd love to sit down and just sit on the couch all day, every day. That'd be great. I wouldn't have to do anything. But I work out twice a day, every single day. And I do that because I do the hard things so that I can do the hard things.
You're so right. And I tell people that people are like, how do you work out so much the way you want it? Why do you do it? I mean, because it is just a discipline that I know it does good things for me. It teaches me things, And then the other thing is, one of the rules of leadership is I want to hold myself at such a high level to bring other people up. So a lot of people I coach, especially in like say the physical transformation, if I'm asking them to work out once, they actually tell me, knowing that you're working out twice, Chris, really inspires us to work out once. I'm like, all right, if that's what it takes, then I'll go do it. Knowing that you're going to be eating clean all the time allows us to eat clean 50% of the time. I'm like, all right, that's something that's so key about leadership. We want to hold ourselves up to the highest levels to just bring people up at some level, but they're never going to reach our level, but that's what I'm driven for.
They'll get max maybe 90 to 80% of what your level is, and it will continue to get diluted down the line. No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And I love that concept. That's a difficult concept to really teach. If you're building a team and you're trying to build a team that's built in levels, right? To understand or to get your people to understand the concept that like, hey, you as a leader, you like someone that's direct to you, you're a manager direct to you, you have to step up and be the best version you could be because the people under you are only going to be about 90% of what you are, which means that you're only going to be at max 90% of what I am, which means those people are going to probably be at best maybe 70% because it's going to get diluted as it goes down.
Yeah.
And teaching that concept so that people really do take leadership to the I think the base level, which is like you have to lead yourself first.
Yes.
You have to lead yourself first. It is disposition before position. You have to do the actions. You have to do everything yourself, and you inspire by example. Leading by example is not the best way to lead. It's the only way to lead.
Yes, 100%.
Vince Lombardi.
And when people, one of my favorite questions I ask people, I say, "What's your vision for yourself?" People are like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, what's your vision? What's your vision for yourself? What's your core values?" Mm-hmm. And a lot of that is a foreign concept for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, well, you have to figure out your vision for yourself. And then maybe that vision for yourself will inspire you to make that change at the heart level to bring you to that higher level. But if you don't have a vision for yourself and you're just willy-nilly trying to do stuff, how can you change at your heart? Because I believe everything happens right here at your heart. If you really want to change, you have to be at your heart level. You have to have a big why, a big vision, something that's fueling you that's much more than any of the obstacles you're going to get every single day, because you're going to get tons of I'm going to say Satan's going to pull all the games out to put obstacles in your way for trying to become the next version of yourself that God wants you to be. So you have to have some sort of thing in your heart that's driving you, whatever that why is.
Man, that's so powerful. Sometimes people need messages right at the right time. And that's one of those messages, Chris, that like, because there's all kinds of myself a business owner, and we're always having challenges and kind of tumultuous times and obstacles that are in our path. And, we had some challenging and obstacles that were presented to us here recently. It wasn't too recently, but it was recently. And me, my closest confidant, who is he's like my right-hand man. He's my chief of operations, Kevin Vega. He was in the military with me, and he actually got out. He was a major, at year 14, he had 16 years left. He foregone getting his retirement.
That's me.
To come because he believed in the vision of what I was building so much.
That's awesome.
And he was like, I want to do this with you, bro. And so
right at my major's point, that's when I get out too,
Yeah. And so, we're talking about what to do. And I said, dude, we know our vision. We're driving forward. We're going to be consistent. It's going to be constant, and everything will flesh out. It will flesh out. Like this, we're not going to get sidetracked or tempted to change tracks because of this situation. It's just not going to happen. Right.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. It's about having the faith.
Yes.
And faith is also faith in yourself.
Yes.
We are made of God.
Yep. Yes.
We're made in his image. You got to have faith in yourself.
Yep.
You have faith in God, then you got to have faith that you are the blessing of God and that you can do this.
You 100%, 100%. You know, we are heirs in God. You know, we're adopted children. We can do greater things. That Jesus actually says we can do greater things than him when he walked this earth. Mm-hmm. You know, so I am zoning into that. I feel like there's going to be, you know, big things coming. I believe that there'll be a time where I can heal people. You know, I can literally lay hands on people and heal people. I believe that that's going to come sometime, you know, but it's up to my intimacy with God, you know, and just some amazing things that God has spoken to me, you know, in the last couple of years, you know, where I've like taken some quiet time and not necessarily pray to God, but just say, God, speak to me. And I've heard like an audible voice, you know, like, Christopher, I need you to strike when the iron's hot. That's a message that I got like in the past year, you know, and there's certain things that I was like contemplating. And I'm like, all right, time to strike. So it all turned out, you know, and it's awesome.
That's such a powerful testimony. I love that, man. I love that.
Yeah, God has been very, very influential in my life. I mean, he has shown up so many times. I'll give you one of the best testimonies is that my brother has had a case of bipolar his whole life since his early 20s. In 2018, my mom, my dad, and myself had not heard from my brother for over 3.5 years. Didn't know if he was alive or anything. I go to a Saturday morning men's group. There's about 40 of us there. I'm one of the younger guys there. You have World War II vets there. Some of them are dying off now. But this back in 2018. So we had awesome, just great men of God, you know, that have been in the faith for so long. I start telling them about my brother and where he is and stuff. They say, Chris, get in the middle of the room. They all lay hands on me. They all pray over me. That was at 9 o'clock in the morning. At 11 o'clock, he calls my mom and dad for the first time in over 3.5 years. And less than a week later, my brother's now living with me. All because they laid hands on me.
I'm telling you, energy transfers.
Yes.
Energy transfers. Yep. And that's really like the law of attraction, right?
Yep.
And I believe we're all spiritually connected. We are all in some way, shape, or form spiritually connected. Do you ever have someone that you think about somebody and you're like, man, I wonder how this person's doing, and then they call you like within a 24 hours, like, hey, I just want to reach out. You're like, I was just thinking about you, and it's just like, I just had this inkling to call you. That's like the Holy Spirit reaching out to them, and it's this energy that's we're all connected, right?
Yep.
And that is powerful. I love that.
Yeah. So whenever things go like if I ever have any doubt or anything, one of the things that my faith is so strong because God reveals himself through creation, right? So every single day I see the moon, the stars, all sorts of great things that he's creating. He reveals himself through the Bible, which I read every day. He reveals himself through past testimony in my life, and he reveals himself through other people in my life. Those 4 things just keep me going because he is just hammering me so much about how he has blessed my life with all those things. So that's why I keep I call my faith very on a mountaintop and very passionate because I just keep relying on that, you know, and I look at when reading the Bible, you see they're Israelites. They don't remember that. They keep on forgetting what God's done from how God rescued them from Egypt, how all these things that God did for them, you know, but I'm like, no, I'm not going to be like the Israelites. I'm going to remember what God's done for me in my life. Now, still a struggle all the time, but still, for the most part, that's where I'm at.
Man, that's fantastic. I love everything that you're talking about. The physical aspect, the spiritual aspect, leading with core values and faith, right?
Yeah.
Being a person of example, like leading by example.
Yeah.
For those of you listening, Chris is an exceptionally successful business person that's had a lot of experience, has made mistakes in his life, has learned from those mistakes, has fallen and gotten back up. And he is dropping so much knowledge right now that you can follow, that you can implement right now today. And like literally, you make that change decision today, you become a different person, you can start walking that new path.
And you know what I really like about going back to the vision for yourself? If you do that work to figure out what drives you and what is that thing that's going to impact your heart.
Yeah.
that vision, when you talk to other people, are going to rally people around you, and you're going
Yes.
to find support that you never even knew you had. And people are just going to want to be associated with you and go on that path for you. When I tell people what I'm about, people are like, how do you do that? So then I talk to them about the Thrive Poverty or this different thing, or how I'm buying multifamily homes. And they're like, how can we help you? I'm like, all right, because then you're, not only do you have a vision and stuff, but you're actually doing things about those things, because it's just a natural flow that when you have a vision and your heart change, you're just going to change and you're going to do things.
Yeah.
And you're going to be a different person than you were before when you didn't have that, and you find it very hard. I go back 10, 15 years when I found it hard. I get burnt out. I couldn't do things, all this stuff, because I didn't have that vision for myself. I didn't have those core values for myself. I didn't do that work on myself. But now I do that work on myself. Doing all this stuff is like energizing every day. It doesn't get burnt. I don't get burnt out. I don't feel like people say, I'm an entrepreneur. How don't you get burnt out? I don't.
I don't either. I feel the exact same way. I know exactly what you're saying, because I've had so many people like, dude, you do so much. Like, you're always on a podcast, you're on a video, you're recording for agents, you're doing coaching calls, you're doing sales, you're running the business, you're doing all these Zoom calls. You're like, dude, when do you relax? And I'm like, this is my passion. This is my purpose in life. Like, I love it.
And you're almost like, this is almost relaxing. This is like cup filling. You know what I mean? Like, this is all good.
Yeah, it actually is. Like, I enjoy this. This is when this energizes me. Like, I'm gonna get off of this podcast and I'm gonna be like, all right, what am I gonna crush next? Like, it like energizes me.
Yes,
right?
yes. But can you relate to me like 15 years ago when it wasn't so, like, when I didn't have my vision? When I did feel like, man, I'm run down. I can't do this. It's a drag. I can't, just every day was rough, dude.
Yeah.
It was rough.
I can relate with you. Yeah. And it's, that was me 3 years ago.
Yeah. Right.
2.5 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
It wasn't until the end of last year when I started to run. And that's what it was, is that I became very passionate about the work I was doing, because I started getting very good at it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was through my passion that I realized my purpose was to impact as many people as I could through my passion, and really serve not just people for me or for the business, but for them, and to serve no matter who it was, whether they're in my company or not.
Yep. Yep.
And that when I came to that, it was just like, it was like a lightning rod hit me, and I just started working more and more and more, and the time did not matter. Because it's like, what if I die tomorrow? I got to do as much as I can. I got to impact as many people as I can.
Yep. And that brings up, you saying those things. I remember going back 10 years ago, I was very transactional, very superficial. It wasn't about what I could do for someone. It's like what you could do for me, very superficial, performance-based life I was leading, and now it's all about them. It's all about developing relationships and going deep with those relationships and being vulnerable and just showing people that you care, and you're going to show up and you're going to have faith in them and you're going to believe in them, and that's just been a game changer right there.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Chris, we've been talking now for like 40 minutes. This is awesome. What's probably the biggest challenge that you've had in your business that you've had to overcome, and how did you overcome it?
Biggest challenge is, so I'll go to the DoD supply chain company.
Okay.
Since that's the one we've had most experience with, and that is really just figuring out the ebbs and flows of the different administrations as they come in, because there's different funding coming in like that. I'll give you an example. And when Obama was a president, he came up with an initiative where they want to take government contractors like us, contractors, and turn them to government employees. And a day came when every contract at the headquarters Air Force Material Command, where our main contract is, if you had a contract there, your contract got cut by 50%. So we went from one day 30 people to 15 people, cut right like that. So just those types of things come up all the time when you work with the DoD. And then we had to figure, okay, now we have, once again, I tell everybody in my company, I go, listen, everybody's ranked. You're all ranked. I know exactly if I have to cut somebody because of that, you're all ranked. So that's why I try to tell you guys, bring value, step outside your zone. You're doing this job, but learn other things, be a growth oriented person. So I tell everybody, we have a list, but when that happens, Greg, we had to, re-niche and think of our company. Okay, what are we going to do now? And we actually helped us out. It really helped us out because we focused on certain areas of supply chain, which we can get direct awards because of our work we've done, which before we weren't able to do that. But just really balancing the ebbs and flows of the bureaucracy of the new administration coming in, the funding for the military and the different policies they come up with. It's crazy. I mean, there's other times where every bid would have to be a low cost bid, no technical proposal, stuff like that. And that's not our swim lane. We are a very niche specific technical proposal thing where our dollar value is very high, So when they come out and say, we're going to have all these contracts there, we're like, all right, we're out of the game for that. And we're going to try to influence business by leveraging our personal relationships that we have, to go around, circumvent stuff.
That would be a really, man, if I had to just get rid of people like that, like it was forced on me, that would suck. I can see that would be a really difficult time as an entrepreneur, as a business owner to be like, oh, how's it happen?
Yeah, that was unbelievable. I just couldn't believe they did it. And then the sad fact is that after Obama was like, oh, we create all these new jobs. You didn't create any new jobs. You just from here to there, and I'm just like, oh, especially because our guys didn't even take the government jobs because the government jobs were too low paying, Yeah.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for taking the time and coming on the podcast, man, and having a conversation with me. This was great. This was great.
Yeah, it's definitely good. Very looking forward to it.
Last question I have, and I have it with all my guests, and I have an idea of at least one person you'll pick. You have three people that you can break bread with, have a conversation with, and just dig in and learn as much as you can about them and their experiences and everything. Who are those three people? They can be dead or alive throughout history.
Well, it's going to be Jesus, right?
I know.
Jesus is there. Jesus is there. Yeah. And then I'm going to go to Paul from the Bible also, because I really want to have Jesus there to tell me what is that the thorn that Paul always has, right? Yep. So those two things. And then the other guy, I'm going to go to Dan Marino because I'm a big Miami Dolphin fan.
Dude, I got a picture of me and Dan Marino. I met him in person.
I did too. I met him at his Hall of Fame induction. Got to shake hands with him and all that stuff. And I have tons of Dan Marino stuff. Tons.
So I'm in a restaurant. There's a big restaurant here in Dallas called Nick and Sam's. It's like a really swanky, swazzy steak restaurant that a lot of celebrities will go to when they come to Dallas because it's like one of a kind and the steaks are phenomenal.
Right.
And so I'm sitting there and I'm at a table with like 20 people with work. And someone is like, hey, I think that's Dan Marino. I looked over. I was like, that is Dan Marino. And I was like, yo, Dan. And he looks at me and I stood up. I was like, what's up, bro? Let's take a quick selfie.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
He was like, okay, sure. And he just took a picture of me.
That is great. That is really great that you just casually just came out with that. It's natural. Yeah, dude, let's go.
Yeah, I did. He was cool, super cool about it. I was like, what's going on, man? So that is awesome. I love that. So Chris, if anyone wants to reach out to you, if they love, and I'm sure they will, this story was amazing. If they love your story and they want to learn more, they want to even get coaching from you or just, pick your brain more. What's the best way to reach out to you, Chris?
You can DM me, through Facebook Messenger. I'll even give my phone number. You can text me at my phone number, 937-672-7988. And it's funny you mention that because one of the gifts I have is that I can manage lots of people. I have literally probably 100 people that I'm in contact with. It's so funny when Ed Milet's book, The Power of One More, came out. I'm giving book. Everybody in my sphere of influence is getting a book. And it's just crazy how many books I gave out. Well over 100 books already. And it's just so cool.
I do the same thing with the 75 hard book. Yeah. Nice. I buy the 75 hard book in bulk, like 10 to 20 at a time. And then I put it on my Instagram and Facebook, say, hey, if you, this program is transformational. It will change your life. But if you want to take the challenge, you got to commit to reading the book, and 2, you got to commit to starting it.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I will send it to you for free. You just send me your address. And I've sent it out to quite a few people and helped touch as many people as I can. So no, I love that. I bought a bunch of Power One More books too when it first came out. Yep. Great book, by the way. If you haven't read it, you need to. In fact, if you want a copy, send me a DM. I will send you one. I think I got like 5 more left. So send me a DM. Supplies are limited. Thank you so much, Chris, for coming on board. All of his information is going to be in the show notes. His Instagram, his TikTok, and his Facebook. And then also I'll put the phone number that you put.
Yep.
if you're watching this, I need your help. I need you to do help to share Chris's story by word of mouth. Share this content. We grow our channel. We grow this content by word of mouth. I need you to share this for Chris, because this is an extremely impactful message that Chris has. And I do believe that he's got victory coming and written all over him. This has been great. And he's provided a lot of value. So do me a favor, do a value-based exchange. And that means you just share this content. Also, go on the Apple Podcast, give me a review if you like the content. We're trying to get as many 5-star reviews as possible. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys. This has been the Be the Difference podcast. As always, I'm your host, Greg Birch. Until next time, we'll see you. Take care.